Shortall. I'm 26 years old. I'm from Italy, but my parents are from Germany. First started when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and my dad used to play, I think it was like Gran Turismo 3 on the PlayStation 2 that he bought for us, and I'd be like watching him, and like I'd be playing it a bit as well, and I don't know, I just always thought it was such a cool game. And then obviously when he started playing less, I started playing more, and then really got into it with like, I think it was Gran Turismo 4. That was really my game then. That was just class, just driving all the race cars on the circuits, and all the rally cars and all the rally circuits and stuff like that, and driving on tracks. Some were real, some weren't real, some I didn't know at the time were actually real. I was like, this is a sick track, I hope this is real. And I found out actually like 5 years ago that they are real, which is pretty dope. So playing games like that, playing the likes of Need for Speed Underground, Need for Speed Underground 2 would have been the games that I played. Those are probably the only games I've actually ever completed on any console on the PlayStation. Them, and then like the Colin McRae rally games, the WRC games, love them. I just absolutely loved, like from the in-car view, so like I actually felt like I was driving the car. I really enjoyed that. I don't know, it got a weird thrill out of it, like even playing the game, I really felt like I was immersed in it, and that's something I'd always love to do, you know what I mean? It's just the idea of just like driving as fast as you can, pushing a car to its limits, just that always really excited me. One point that really sparked my passion again for that would be when one of the lads, Oisin, introduced me to Initial D.
My name is Oisin Dunn. For work, I work for a big Irish bank, but for fun, we drive cars, and we drive them hard.
We were just like chilling out one evening. He's like, "Have you ever watched Initial D?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "No way, man! Like, you have to watch this."
Put him onto that, and then we started talking about that, and he come back to me and be like, "Oh, I'm at this stage, I'm at that stage." And I remember saying to him, "Do you see when your man like sticks his wheels into the drain and pulls them around the corner?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "That works." I was like, "I've tried that. That works." And he was like, "No way." I was like, just try it and come back to me and see, like, do you know what I mean?
It's very good because it teaches you like driving techniques and illustrates them very well, and kind of, yeah, because it goes almost into step-by-step detail on how to do them, and I was like, wow, like this is stuff that I could actually do.
I originally got into cars with my grandfather, so he owned a haulage business for the last 50 years, and we would have always went to the Gordon Bennett, and I saw Killian coming around with his Corolla, and I was just like, my man, we've another one coming into the town, just kind of filling that little gap, carrying the flag, you know. It's very hard to find people who are really into cars, you know what I mean? And even if you go and get a group of friends who are into cars, it's only a friendship just because you're into cars. So it was sound to have someone in my friend circle who was into it as much as I was, because then we could really bounce off each other, you know, and really progress together with that.
Yeah, I have like 2 BMWs in between after the Corolla, and then Bush got his EM1, which is he said lightweight front wheel drive, Japanese early 2000s, late 90s car, and I was kind of like, yeah, I want something like that again.
He was looking into getting a Honda, especially just after I got my one. Do you know, I was like, lad, you need to experience something like naturally aspirated that has something else in it. Do you know, like Lift or Tech or Vanos or whatever. I was like, you just need to experience this.
If I got the right car, I could even bring it out into the track, which is something that I thought I'd never, like when I was a kid playing Gran Turismo, I'd never dreamed that I'd be able to drive out on the real track in my own car. Like that was never, I would always love to, I always wanted to, but I never thought that was in the realms of possibility, because just the way my life was going at the time and a lot of other stuff, I'd never thought that I'd ever consider that. And then when I was in a position to, because I've been working quite a bit, and I was like, maybe I'd do 1 or 2 track days just to see what it's like. And
just kind of selling them on the allure of a JDM car, and those petrol engines just hit so different. The sound of them, the feel of them. And he was considering it one thing or another, and then I remember saying to him, like, have a look at Toyotas as well. It was like, your first car was a Toyota, so you're kind of a Toyota man, like, and he was like, oh, I never even thought of it.
I discovered the Toyota Celicas, I was like, wow, this car has absolutely the specs, looks pretty cool. Only with the TRD kit, obviously. Has to have the TRD kit. And that one came up. I was like, right, that's the one. So I bought it.
I just remember he rang me one evening in the summer. He was like, you home? I was like, yeah. He was like, I have a surprise for you. I was like, this is probably a new car. And I wasn't expecting that to roll into the yard. Like you see with the TRD kit and everything, it's just like, it's just so right.
I couldn't insure it at the time, so I just parked it up here in the garage, stored it, and then I got it on the road in June. And then I had a track day booked for August.
He said that he was bringing it to Mondello. And I was like, right, nice one.
When I was buying the car, and I was test driving it, buying off your man Roy, he was like, you know, say how much of a lovely car it is, it's got the TRD kit on it, and this and this. And he's like, so what's your plan with it? You know, what are you going to do with it? He's like, oh, you can clean it up this way, you can clean this. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to daily it and, you know, probably bring it to the track. I could see in his reaction, he was like, I don't want you to bring it to the track. He's like, oh, it's an awfully nice car. And I was like, I know, but that's what I'm buying it for. You know what I mean? Mr. Toyota didn't make this car this fast for me to park it into a garage and just clean it, like, you know, so drive and use it was built for it.
So we went up and he was like, do you want to be a passenger? Absolutely, 100%, let me go for that. And that's when, again, we were on the track and I'd be mentoring him and be like, listen, stay out a bit longer and turn in a bit tighter or whatever, do you know what I mean? Run it right up to the end. Stuff like that, kind of squeezing out a bit of time out of them and stuff like that.
You know, some people are interested in cars, they love cleaning them, they love polishing, they love making beautiful cars and parking them up and looking at them. And other people just love the engineering aspect of cars, working on them, building just incredible machines. But for me, and for us as well, the main allure of cars is driving them, and specifically racing them.
It's not something that you can just jump into motorsport by any means. You definitely have to progress, and there's a lot to learn and navigate along the way. There's a lot of people that you need to ask about things. Otherwise, you're just going to be spending money in places that you can't afford, or you're wasting time, you know. So it was a slow journey, but at the same time, it's really ramped up since COVID. Like the first 2 years that was building up, figuring out, you know, who we are and what we're about one thing or another. But then once he started hitting the track days, he just progressed exponentially. It's just been phenomenal to witness. Like I couldn't ever have imagined that he would get this fast, this quick.
Like that car is my pride and joy. So when I bring that out onto the track, initially there's a bit of worry, like, oh, you know, I don't want to wreck this car. I never really do. But then when you do get out and you come to a bit where you are kind of racing somebody and you're trying to be faster than them and they're trying to be faster than you, like it gets to that kind of goes out the window a little bit, where I'm like, right, this is what I bought it for. If I'd been it, like.
Huge part of it as a driver, because we've often seen it in Mondello where there are definitely more capable cars on the track, but the driver's not capable, or the driver doesn't know how to approach it, and as such they're just getting left behind. Like, here's the thing, you could probably give Killian a Ford Fiesta 1.2 and give someone else his Celica and he will still be all over their bumpers.
Ush is fast. Ush is very fast. We went go-karting the other day and I was leading through the practice. I was leading through the 2 practice heats, and then for the 2 first racing heats, I think it was like there was 2 practice heats and there was 2 qualifying heats or whatever, and then I was first on the grid in the semi-final. I spun out. I was 3rd, caught up with a bit of a gap, and then in the last race there was less than a second between Ush, Stephen and myself. So like Ush has definitely been both an inspiration and someone to push me, because Ush is like, he tells me, if someone like Ush tells me I'm fast, I believe it because Ush is fast.
You know, I remember having a chat with him not so long ago, and I said to him, he was really getting on well. I said, you realise like you have potential here. I was like, if you wanted to, you can absolutely go competitive, 100%. Whether you decide to do an amateur, semi-pro, pro, like, this can be done. This is achievable. Like, you're already out driving people in better cars and people who've been doing this for longer. And when I said that to him, he was like, do you reckon? I was like, 100%. I have no doubt that you can make something of this if you really want it. And you could see the gears turning in his head then, and he was like, you know what, I think we will give it a shot. We'll go all in.
So I use the sim to practice, so that I can get the most out of the actual track days. And because using the sim, I don't have as much cost for tires, fuel, or petrol, or anything like that. Well, no costs. So that way, I can keep my practice up, and then when I do spend the money to go out on track, I'm able to get the most out of my money by being able to perform the best and set the best lap times. So I knew it was like I was hitting good times the last few days. You know, I was getting faster. I was fairly confident in my driving, but then when it comes down to the car, like I was finding a few limitations, especially with regards to the brakes. Like, I mean, speed wise, you can always make a car faster, whatever. Like, that car is fast enough for Mondello to set good times, do you know what I mean? So I didn't want to upgrade it in that sense. But one of the main limitations that I found was the brakes. So they'd be overheating, I'd be chewing through brake pads. Good quality brake pads, the ones that I was advised to buy, be pulling in after 10 minutes in the morning and be smoking 200 degrees like the oak's cooking. So I had to get race pads for it.
Rarely do people get to experience cars doing this. You know, you're all taught to drive safe. Absolutely, don't get me wrong, rules of the road 100%. But there's some people who they'll take 100 kilometers an hour bend at 60 because they think that's too hard. But then when you realise what cars can actually do, it's mind blowing.
You want to be on the limits of the tyre first, maximise that and learn your car control, as opposed to it being completely on rails, and then you're on the limits of your suspension and the likes of that, and it makes it harder to learn, you know what I mean? So I upgraded the brakes, the pads mainly, which made a huge difference. Gave me a lot more confidence. Like, I knew I could absolutely send it, just slam onto the brakes coming into corners. No hassle, wasn't afraid of them cooking, like no brake fade in them at all, and just incredible bike. So that made a big difference. That gave me a lot more confidence to be able to come fly into corners and slam on and not be worried about my brakes not working, which is a very big thing, you know.
So it's handy here. So what we can do is we can get used to the track and to the layout and get an idea of the setup. We can kind of give them some pointers with regards like positioning the track and braking points and stuff, and we can get it kind of dialed in here before we go up to Mondello. So at least we're maximising the fun that we're having on track and the amount of laps that we get to enjoy, rather than, you know, taking time figuring out what we're at. We can do it here ahead of time.
The track day before last was wet, but I actually really enjoyed the rain because, I mean, firstly, it kind of makes you feel like you have more horsepower and a heavier car because you're sliding around more and you've less grip. But because of the less grip, and when you do slip out, like, it catches a bit slower, which gives you almost kind of more of a realm for practicing certain techniques, and you have to be very, very smooth in the rain to be fast, which pushes you to be better, you know what I mean? It's less forgiving. So there was corners where I was coming up and I was coming in fairly hot. I'd turn the car in slightly when I was braking, which would shift the weight, which would be fine in the dry because you have so much more grip, whereas in the wet I came sliding into a corner at like 100 kilometers an hour, like full pelt sideways, and I'd had to catch that. And luckily, from the experience from the drifting, I was used to the back of a car kicking out and I was able to catch it and hold it and drive it around, but that was actually a lot more enjoyable than I thought it would be.
There's plenty of people, like, you know, I'll be training people in work or one thing or another, and you'll explain something and they'll stay doing it wrong and you have to keep reminding them, you know what I mean? You have to stay on them. He doesn't need that. The only thing he might need would be if he's coming around and you can feel him letting off the throttle, and you just have to shout him, stay on it, stay on it, stay on it, you know, just kind of push him outside his comfort zone that little bit, like. But other than that, I've never seen anyone else in a car to be able to just apply it and see, and then we know the next lap if it works or it doesn't, and if it doesn't work, we'll stop doing it, like, you know.
And as much as I enjoyed it in the wet and it was a good learning experience, I needed it to be dry, like, because that's where you want to set your lap times. That's where you want to measure yourself against yourself and other drivers.
He definitely has the spirit of a race driver in him. You know, he's not there just to take part. He's there to be the fastest. But when it comes to grip driving, and when it comes to being in the Celica, it's like, listen, if you're not first, you're last. And that's, do you know what I mean? And you can see that that's in him. It's just a deep competitive nature within him. So I just told him, like, look, if you need any help at all with this journey, I'm so down. Whether it be designing stickers for the crack or one thing or another, you know. And that's actually a big part of our friendship, where that really grew from, was him wanting to, you know, have sort of like a motorsport team, the Sunrise Club. And he was asking me about it and one thing or another, and designing logos for him. We were talking about getting, you know, hoodies and liveries and stuff printed up, and now things got busy. We never really kind of got a chance to get around to that. Do you know what I mean? When you're doing it in your spare time, you're doing it for free, it's kind of hard to stay on top of those. But even still, we created the philosophy of Sunrise and the essence of it. So even by exploring that and the whole idea of the team, the two of us kind of figured out, like, that our philosophies towards driving and what it is we enjoy about driving, or, you know, our attitudes towards cars and how we feel about them and how we feel about just the whole sensation of driving. That's so when we started talking about the Sunrise, that's when that really started to progress. And then naturally enough, he was like, do you want to be a part of Sunrise? And I was like, absolutely, 100%. And then so we started going to more and more track days, more drift days, one thing or another. And then we ended up with the grip racing and the show track day that's about to come up.
It was a beautiful day, like the sun was absolutely splitting the rocks. I do remember having this moment when I was driving up, and I was just in a good mood, like, you know, I'm going to a track day, I was drinking my coffee in the morning on the way up, like, just a bit of crack, like, I had this little realization, I was like, that this is one of the days I'm going to look back on when I'm older. So we went up there, packed up in the pits, unloaded all the stuff, met a few of the lads that I've met at previous track days, just like shooting the breeze, having the crack, trying to see if I could speak to a few lads who are into the ITCC, the racing that I want to get into, do you know, just for some advice and just a few tips for seeing how they're doing it, what way they go about it, if they have sponsorships and how they got those. Looking at a few of the other cars, some absolutely savage, beautiful cars, picking out ones that you want to overtake. You know what I mean? If you see another Celica, you're like, right, I'm overtaking him. It's game on. Obviously, being the Gran Turismo day, they had a lot of cars from the video game, which was a pretty cool experience to be once again on a race circuit with all those cars and me in my own car. And then when we were parked up kind of on the starting grid, you know, revving the cars, I had this moment I remembered that in the Gran Turismo games, when it was counting down for the start of the race, it would always be like boom, 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 boom. So I was like sitting there doing that in my car like a big child, but I was like, this is sick to be able to do this in real life in my own car, and that was very cool. Literal disaster struck out of nowhere. I never thought such crap would happen when I'm out there pushing it, trying to set my fastest lap. One of the wheel studs broke, which is not an ideal situation. Like, I don't know if I can continue in this. Is this going to be safe? So I put the wheel back on before them. I rang around a few of the lads, kind of got some advice, and it was kind of like, yeah, you can give it a shot if you want to. So I was fairly apprehensive about it, you know what I mean? So stuck the wheel on, made sure everything was tight, everything was good, and took it for a few, cautious enough laps, kind of came back in, checked everything, made sure everything was good, kind of took it out for a few more laps again, then, was settling into the car, and then I was like, right, let's go, let's send this. So I started properly pushing it then, properly pushing the car. I was really feeling the car was feeling really well, it was handling amazing, it was super predictable, the tires were very good, even though they're, on the end of their life. Those matched with the brakes. I had good confidence in the car.
Cillian is such a pleasure to be around. He's absolutely savage crack. He'll lend a hand wherever you need it at any hour that he needs, so he's consistently reliable. So here's the thing, so when he asks you to do something, you absolutely want to pay him back. Do you know what I mean? He's so good to you. Even like that, offering me shots of the car, offering me to go passenger and bring me along for it, and he thinks nothing of it. But these things, they go such a long way. He's unbelievably hardworking. Unlimited potential when it comes to learning and driving. No doubt about that. If I'm fairly sure, like if you got him into a car with Lewis Hamilton, do you know what I mean? He's going to shave serious seconds off, like with the right mentorship. He could be number one. That's just how it is. Do you know what I mean? I don't see any limit to his progression. He's just good crack. He's bubbly. He's fun to be around, But on track, it's a different story. On track, we're there for business. We're there to work. We take this very, very seriously, is his attitude. You see it if you're in the passenger seat and you look across to him and he's just dialed in. He's just dialed into it, right in the moment, And it's an aggressive style, but he's not an aggressive person. Just his nature and his style of driving that comes out. So it's such a, it's such a duality to his personality, because he's such a nice, pleasant person to be around in the pit lane and one thing or another, and you can see it from the other drivers. But when it comes to being out, get out of that man's way.
the help that Aaron has given me, like the encouragement that Ush has given me, even like the little bits of advice from me ringing up Chris, one of the lads who works in Murray Motorsports, and him being able to help me out with parts and guide me in that kind of stuff, and his background in motorsport, like he knows his stuff, he knows what you're looking for and that kind of stuff, and they Ush guide me with my lines and braking points and that kind of stuff, and even just the encouragement of, you know, friends being like, man, you're fast, you have an ability for this. Like I'd be nowhere without that, you know what I mean? I have such a huge appreciation for the friends and the support that I have. Like it's, you know what I mean? I wouldn't be where I am now, I wouldn't be the man I am now without my friends. So Anthony from Show Racing or the lads from Hero Racing, like putting on those track days, keeping that spirit alive, you know what I mean? Giving lads like myself a place to safely like see their full driving potential and the potential of their cars, and to make it interesting, to make it exciting, to make a, you know, Gran Turismo team day something that we were all into, you know what I mean? To bring that kind of stuff out is amazing. I'm like thankful that there is people like that around that keep that going.
I definitely think his next logical step is to get into competition all the way. So far removed from what you do on the daily. What a release and what an adrenaline rush. I think that's what you're doing.